the rights holders are working a lot smarter than perhaps historically. I launched a business in September 2018 with the aim of sort of bringing together the world of sponsorship. Historically, it was very kind of an emotive purchase. I think rights holders and brands are diving deeper into the audiences they're targeting, which is why we created Connexi. So the core proposition of what we do is to create more time efficient and commercially relevant partnerships. We do this by a range of data points, so first party data, real-time social data, and then we've got a partnership with YouGov Sport, who provide the consumer profiling data. So we attack the audience from 3 different angles and make sure that we are suggesting the most commercially relevant partnerships or proposals to the most commercially relevant brands. To say we're lucky is well, we've been lucky throughout the whole of 2020. We grew month on month, both from a commercial perspective of number of users, but then also with the number of conversations starting between brands and rights holders. So in the grand scheme of things, we have been lucky. I think the industry as a whole, doesn't have me to tell you that it's taken a massive knock, which, in return has made it a buyer's market. I think, the positives, we've been doing a couple of insight pieces in different sectors of the sporting space. And one key thing that we've seen is that the rights holders are working a lot smarter than perhaps historically, looking to provide value to their existing brands, whilst also looking to, prove their attractiveness to new brands in this difficult climate. There's been more and more B2B partnerships that are kind of coming out there. From our perspective, it wasn't easy, but we grew month on month, which is very positive. And certainly January of 2021, we've seen a kind of a lot more appetite in the sports world and the sponsorship space. So onwards and upwards, hopefully. I think it's certainly growing in importance. I think it's growing in importance across most industries. I think with sport or data as a whole, historically, people are reserved of using it because of the quality of the data. I think now in today's world, the quality of the data is very good, and it can, it's a lot smarter way of working for, if you're a brand and you're looking to target your audience, you want to know which clubs fans are aligned with your brand or would consider buying your brand, all that sort of stuff. So the role of data, I think, is becoming ever more important in the world of sport. I think the role of data gives rights holders a stronger selling point, particularly after the year we've had with COVID. It sort of kind of allows them to showcase why they're different, why they're fans, why the brand should be working with them. And rights holders are having to leverage their digital offering in a lot stronger way than they ever have done before. I think what we've seen, and certainly through us, has been a lot more shorter term deals. And by that, I don't mean campaigns. I mean sort of like year deals, rather than doing a big 4 or 5 year deal. You'll do 1 year deal, review it sort of this year, and then see how you can kind of build on it for next year. The rights holders have really had to sort of kind of look at what they've got to where they can provide the value for the brands. It is a buyer's market. It will always be a buyer's market. It certainly has become an even stronger buyer's market. So differentiating you as Football Club A versus Football Club B has had to be the case. And sort of that's where sort of going back to the data side of things has become ever more important. Sponsorship as a means or a marketing channel is a very good channel to tell your story. And I think, particularly in football, Asian brands have become, almost kind of run of the norm with sponsoring some of the Premier League big clubs, AIA, Yokohama with Chelsea. And I think from their perspective, it's a great means to not only target their local audience, which they get in Asia through Premier League assets, but they also get the sort of the global awareness that a Tottenham and Chelsea might have around the globe. So, it is, as long as the story fits, it's a natural fit, and one you know, that for them, we're working with an Asian brand at the moment who got a great foot presence in Asia, now looking to kind of branch out into the UK and Europe. There's no better way than getting the big numbers that they can get through a Premier League football club, but also alongside that, they're still telling the story back in the local markets over in Asia, because Premier League as an asset is so big, you know, that people are engaged with it all around the world. I think it's the next step. Is a great step for Asian brands to be getting involved in. I think from a rights holder's perspective, one has to be, like all partnerships, doesn't matter whether they're from Asia, Europe, America, wherever, but has to be aware and cautious of making sure, you know, the correct due diligence is done to make sure that, you know, the partnerships ring true for the contract value. It has accelerated massively, for sure. I was sort of looking at some numbers last week, and I think it says that from 2019 to 2023, there's going to be an increase in viewership from 454 million up to 646 million views. So, like, it's an obvious next step of things going online, people engaging with online, and obviously brands moving forward will be engaging a lot heavier through the esports channel. You know, you look at someone like Betway, who from a gambling perspective have really nailed the esports market from a gambling perspective. And, you know, moving forward, brands, it's a great way to reach a new audience. You know, I think historically people think of people who play esports games are just, you know, gamers, you know, people who just you don't see or anything like that, when actually it's the polar opposite. And, you know, the more brands understand that, and the more brands, again, going through data, understand the value of the teams, the leagues, the competitions, whatever assets they are, you know, the better for both brands. And it's a very trackable investment, but also for esports as well. I mean, esports isn't going anywhere except up. So it's been very interesting to watch. And one, you know, we did a partnership with the British Esports Association to ensure that, you know, we as a business are sort of at the forefront of it and understanding it, and making sure that we can push the right proposals to the right brands based on commercial relevancy. I think if you have sustainability at the backbone of your business, like a Forest Green, then yes. And, you know, they are winning a lot of brands over because they share the same values, but, you know, that is at the forefront of what they are. You know, it's not like they're a football club and they're sustainable. They are a sustainable football club, no matter where you look at it. Speaking to a brand the other day, and they're all about sustainability. And one thing that is frustrating for them is a lot of people say they're doing but don't do it. So actually, when you align with them, you do that. You know, you become a partner with them. You want to be carbon neutral by 2030, for example, and the clubs say they do, but actually they're, you know, the most energy inefficient businesses out there. So I think, you know, clubs have got to be careful and transparent about their sustainable model moving forward. I do think that it's a great way into brands, but you've got to back it up. You can't just sort of say one thing and do another. Everyone having a voice, doesn't matter sort of which challenge you're trying to tackle, is a great thing. And actually the sporting community standing up for, like, against racism is paramount, and how it should be. You know, it shouldn't be a club that has to stand up and say it. Actually, it should be the club standing up and say it, but the players actually becoming sort of very proactive about their approach, you know, is fantastic in whichever challenge you are trying to kind of solve. Again, from a brand's perspective, you know, brands may have sort of sat back on this and not really raised their heads. I think, you know, now they have to raise their heads because of the sports personnel, which is fantastic. The change that you're seeing and the movements and motions you're seeing is only good for, you know, the sporting community, but actually the wider world community as well.